So the second part of this project, after you've completed your first part where you've answered all 10 questions, is talking about a 50-year period. Now, once you've answered all these 10 questions, you can start the second part. You're still using the same website that you've used from the top 10 questions that you've just answered. And this time you're really going to use this historical timeline to complete everything. You're not going to use Google for anything. Everything is here on this historical timeline at that very top banner. And you'll click on that red button that says Explore the Historical Timeline. And this will take you to each of the 4 sections so that you can read about what happened in the timeline that goes from 1820 to 2010. You do not need to listen to audio recordings or watch videos to complete this. Those are just extras that can be done on your own time if you'd like, but in class, and if you're working on it at home if you choose to do so, those things do not need to be done. The answers are in the reading that is provided for you from the website. So you're going to choose one 50-year period from 1820 to 2010. You're going to research major world events that happened in your time period. These events might include wars, economic declines or booms, religious persecution, or environmental disaster. And then you need to tell me if you see a connection between your events and immigration to the United States and why you believe these have a connection or why they don't have a connection at all. Which they more than likely will have a connection. So remember when we talked about on Monday where we talked about our push and pull factors. Now wars, economic declines, religious persecution, environmental disaster, all of those things are a push factor that are pushing those people out of whatever country they live in and they're moving to whatever country they choose. Now in this project we're focusing mainly on the United States, but people get pushed to all different countries all around the world. Just depends on what the country has to offer. But the fact that there might be economic booms, religious freedom, the fact that there might not be a war at whatever country they're looking at going to, better education, better environmental issues, whatever they're wanting, whatever they're interested in. Those things are pull factors. Those are the things that are enticing them and pulling them towards that country and causing them to want to come to whatever country they're needing to go to. Okay? So this part needs to be completed on the construction paper that was provided to you in class. You need to tell me what 50-year time span you have chosen. So that can be up at the very top of the page where you can say, I've decided, I want to go from 1820 to 1870 or whichever ones you want to do. But just tell me the time span first and then break it down into decades. So, if you're going from 1820 to 1870, then you'd put 1820 off to the side, a little colon, and then you'd answer these 3 questions here at the very bottom. And this is what I'm looking for each decade. Remember, we're writing in complete sentences, and we're answering these 3 questions. I want to know who immigrated in, my example decade is 1820 to 1870. So I would say who's immigrated. I would give an ethnic group, Irish people immigrated in 1820s, or the English immigrated in 1820s. Whoever it is, whatever the timeline is telling you, whichever area you're choosing, then you need to tell me where they came from, what country are they coming from, and then you need to tell me what caused them to immigrate. Okay, so that would be, that the Irish people came to the United States in the 1820s because there was a major war happening in Ireland, and that a war, I know, is a push factor. Okay, so you would tell me what caused them to immigrate, which in my example was the war, and then I told you if it was a push or a pull factor, and of course a war is a push factor. Okay, now what caused them to immigrate? All of the causes are going to be either push or pull. I know we talked about on Monday how we have cultural diffusion and cultural borrowing. That's not why they're immigrating. It's either push or pull. Okay, so either were pushed out of their country for war or economic or religious reasons, or they were pulled to the United States because there was no war, or there were better economics, or there wasn't religious persecution. So you need to tell me which one is which, okay? And then after you've done that, then you're going to complete the second part, where after you've answered these 3 questions for each decade, so you've answered these questions 5 times, you need to complete some sort of chart or graph for your 50-year time span showing immigration patterns. Now, the website does provide pie charts, bar graphs, tables, and line graphs that you can look at, just like we look at our master maps. And you can use these and for reference and get your numbers and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do any extra research. Those things are already provided for you. Basically, I just need you to recreate your own. You choose however you want to depict your information, but these are available for you to use as a guideline. These charts or graphs, whichever one you would like to complete, does need to have a key, just like when we have a map key, and we can look at our pie charts that are on the website. They have keys. The colors mean a certain region of the world, so they need to have a key. And of course, the key, when you have a key, everything needs to be colored so that you know what color is representing what region or country that you're talking about. So then once you have completed that, this is the rubric that we will be using. This rubric is very simple. There's 3 parts to the assignment, so there's 3 parts to the rubric. The first part is answering the 10 short answer responses. These are 5 points per question, so you can receive 50 possible points. So to receive full credit, you need to answer all the questions in complete sentences and answer all parts of the questions correctly. A lot of these questions, like for question 1, for example, has 3 different parts to it. So if you leave out one part of the question, I'll take a few points off because you didn't answer the full question in all of its parts. The next part is completing your 50-year time span. That's when you're telling me your 50-year time span, and then you break it down into 5 decades, and you're answering those 3 questions. You're receiving 2 points per question per decade. So there's 5 decades that you're answering these questions for. If you're receiving 2 points per question, again, 3 times 2 is 6, so you have 6 possible points per decade. 6 times 5 is 30, and so that's where we're getting our 30 possible points. To receive full credit for this, you need to have followed all the instructions that were typed above and answer all 3 questions for each decade in full complete sentences. I don't want just little, one-word answers or a number off to the side. I want you to tell me what's going on. I need a full answer. Then when you complete your chart or your graph, this is what you will be graded on. I will grade you on color and neatness. On Monday we talked about how we color and how we complete our maps. Again, we're going to do the same thing for our charts and graphs. I will give you 2 points for coloring the proper way, just like we practiced on Monday. Our key is receiving 3 points. We've done a key before with our Norton map. We know how important those are, and so I'll give you 3 points for completing a key on your chart or graph. And then the information that you show me in this chart or graph is really the bulk of the information. That's what I really want to know, and I'm going to give you 15 points for that if you complete that completely. So 20 possible points for completing the chart or graph. To receive full credit, again, you need to depict the immigration numbers for the entire from their decade of choice in some sort of chart or graph, including a key depicting all 50 years. It must be in color. Okay, so you need to not show me just a decade. You need to tell me about all 50 years. In that pie chart that we can see on the website, that is depicting all 50 years. What they've done is they've taken all 50 years, they've added all of the immigration up from a certain region or country, and then it just tells you the big round number at the very end after all 50 years have been completed. Okay? So this is what we're grading on, and you have a possible 100 points to earn from this. Please, 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 if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me to ask me questions in class. We will be working on this in the library, and I will be helping you stay on task and manage your time, just like I did last week when we had our independent activity time to complete our activities. I had a timer going, and I kept you on task by giving you updates on how much time you had left and where you needed to be if you were going to successfully complete those activities before the weekend was here. I'll be doing the same thing in the next couple of days when we're in the library completing these activities. So we shouldn't have a too big of an issue getting these things done, but I do need your help. You know, I can only get you on task so many times. At some point, it's up to you to answer your questions and to stay focused and get your work done. So I think between the two of us, we can be successful in this. But if you have any questions about anything, do not hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to help and answer any questions and clarify anything that I can.